Imagine dedicating your entire life to something. 20 years of sacrifice, thousands of hours of preparation, your body broken and rebuilt so many times that you lose count. Championships won, records set, opponents dominated. And then you wait for the phone call that never comes. Not for 1 year, not for 5 years, not for a decade. You wait until you are 70 years old. You wait until your knees ache from surgeries that kept you playing through pain nobody should endure. You wait while watching players with lesser accomplishments walk across a stage in Canton, Ohio, and receive the gold jacket that should have been yours years earlier. And some Raiders legends never got that call while they were alive to receive it. That is not a coincidence. That is not bad luck. That is a pattern so consistent and so deliberate that it demands an explanation the Pro Football Hall of Fame has never been willing to provide. Tonight, I'm going to give you that explanation. I'm going to show you exactly how the Hall of Fame has treated Raiders players differently than every other franchise. I'm going to show you the names that were ignored, the years they waited, and the ones who died before justice finally arrived. And I'm going to prove that the Pro Football Hall of Fame does not just have a Raiders problem, it has a Raiders crisis. But before I show you the evidence, I need to take you inside the Hall of Fame selection process, because most fans have no idea how this actually works, and once you understand the process, the bias becomes impossible to deny. Every year, a selection committee of approximately 48 voters meets the Saturday before the Super Bowl. These voters are media members, journalists, broadcasters, writers from newspapers and websites across the country. Not coaches, not former players, not people who spent careers studying film and understanding what makes players great. Media members. People whose opinions are shaped by market size, television exposure, and which players generated the most compelling narratives during their careers. Now think about what that means for Raiders players. Oakland is not New York. It is not Dallas. It is not Chicago or Green Bay or Pittsburgh. Oakland is a mid-sized market on the West Coast that the national sports media has historically undervalued and misunderstood. Players in New York get daily coverage in the most influential newspapers in America. Players in Dallas are featured on the most watched sports television programs every week. Players in Pittsburgh are celebrated by a fan base with enormous national reach. Raiders players get labeled as outlaws, as criminals, as members of a rogue franchise that operates outside the boundaries of acceptable football culture. And when those same media members sit in a room and vote on who deserves to be immortalized in Canton, their biases walk into that room with them. This is the foundation of the Raiders Hall of Fame problem. Not conspiracy, not backroom deals. Bias. Documented, measurable, undeniable bias. Now let me show you the evidence. Ken Stabler led the Oakland Raiders to Super Bowl XI in January 1977. He defeated the Minnesota Vikings 32-14. He was the most clutch left-handed quarterback in NFL history. He threw for 27,938 yards in his career. He won the NFL Most Valuable Player Award in 1974. He was selected to 4 Pro Bowls. The Hall of Fame made Stabler eligible in 1985, the year after he retired. For 26 consecutive years, the voters said no. 26 years. Ken Stabler died on July 8, 2015. He was 69 years old. He had been battling stage 4 colon cancer. 4 months after his death, in August 2015, the Hall of Fame's Sillier Committee finally inducted Ken Stabler posthumously. He never got to wear the gold jacket. He never got to deliver the speech. He never got to stand on that stage and thank the teammates, coaches, and fans who believed in him. His daughter, Alexa, accepted the honor on his behalf. She stood at the podium and spoke words that should have been her father's to say. Think about the cruelty of that moment. The Hall of Fame had 26 opportunities to honor a man while he was alive. They chose to wait until he was in the ground. And Ken Stabler was not alone. Cliff Branch was one of the most explosive wide receivers of his generation. He played for the Raiders from 1972 through 1985. In that time, he caught 501 passes. He scored 67 touchdowns. He won 3 Super Bowls. More importantly, he was the most feared deep threat of his era. Opposing defensive coordinators built entire game plans around preventing Cliff Branch from getting behind their secondary. When he was covered, the entire offense opened up for everyone else. Branch became eligible for the Hall of Fame in 1991. For 28 years, he was nominated, considered, and rejected. Cliff Branch died on August 3, 2019. He was 71 years old. 2 years after his death, in 2021, the Hall of Fame selected him as a senior finalist. He was officially inducted in August 2022, 3 years after he died. Cliff Branch never knew he was going to Canton. He spent the final years of his life believing the Hall of Fame had decided his career did not matter. He died without the validation that was rightfully his. 2 Raiders legends, both inducted after death, both forced to wait decades while the Hall of Fame voted no again and again. This is not coincidence. Let me show you why. During the years Ken Stabler was being rejected, the Hall of Fame inducted multiple quarterbacks whose career accomplishments were comparable or inferior to his. Bob Greasy was inducted in 1990 with fewer playoff wins than Stabler. Ron Jaworski, who never won a Super Bowl, received serious consideration that Stabler was denied. During the years Cliff Branch was being rejected, the Hall of Fame inducted multiple wide receivers from larger media markets with similar or inferior statistical profiles. Lynn Swann of the Pittsburgh Steelers was inducted in 2001 with 286 career receptions. Cliff Branch had 501 career receptions. Swann never faced the nomination delays that Branch endured. The difference between Branch and Swann was not production. It was that Swann played in Pittsburgh, a market with enormous national media presence, and Branch played in Oakland, where the media narrative was always about the Raiders being outlaws rather than champions. Now let me tell you about Tom Flores, because his story might be the most infuriating of them all. Tom Flores became the head coach of the Oakland Raiders in 1979. In 1980, he led the Raiders to the Super Bowl as a wildcard team. They defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 27-10. Tom Flores became the first minority head coach to win a Super Bowl. 3 years later, in 1983, Flores led the Los Angeles Raiders to another Super Bowl. They destroyed the Washington Redskins 38-9. 2 Super Bowl victories, a postseason coaching record of 8 wins and 3 losses. The first Hispanic head coach to win a championship in the history of professional football. Tom Flores waited 42 years for Hall of Fame induction. 42 years. He was inducted in 2021 at the age of 83. He could barely walk to the podium to give his speech. His hands trembled. His voice cracked. He was grateful. He was gracious. He thanked everyone who had believed in him. But he should not have had to wait 42 years for that moment. He should not have spent 4 decades watching coaches with single Super Bowl victories, coaches from larger media markets, coaches from franchises the NFL preferred to celebrate, receive recognition that he had earned twice over. Tony Dungy won 1 Super Bowl with the Indianapolis Colts in 2006. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2016, 10 years after his championship. Tom Flores won 2 Super Bowls. He waited 42 years. The only difference was that Dungy coached in Indianapolis, a franchise the NFL actively promoted, and Flores coached the Raiders, a franchise Al Davis had spent decades at war with the league. Now let me show you who is still waiting. Lester Hayes played cornerback for the Raiders from 1977 through 1986. In 1980, he intercepted 13 passes in a single season. 13! That number stands as one of the most dominant single-season defensive performances in NFL history. Hayes was named the NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 1980. He made 5 Pro Bowls. He won 2 Super Bowls. He completely shut down the best receivers of his generation so effectively that the NFL changed rules specifically to restrict the bump and run coverage technique that made him dominant. Think about that.
The NFL changed its rules because of how dominant Lester Hayes was. That is how good he was. Lester Hayes is not in the Hall of Fame. He has been eligible since 1992. For over 30 years, he has been nominated, considered, and rejected. He is currently 70 years old. If the Hall of Fame waits much longer, they will be adding another name to the list of Raiders legends inducted after death. Jim Plunkett led the Raiders to 2 Super Bowl victories. He was named the Super Bowl Most Valuable Player in both games. In Super Bowl 15, following the 1980 season, he completed 13 of 21 passes for 261 yards and 3 touchdowns. In Super Bowl 18, following the 1983 season, he completed 16 of 25 passes for 172 yards and 1 touchdown. 0 interceptions in both Super Bowl appearances combined. The quarterback who led the Raiders to back-to-back championships never turned the ball over in a championship game. Jim Plunkett is not in the Hall of Fame. The justification given is that his career statistics were not impressive enough. His total passing yards and touchdowns do not match the elite quarterbacks of his era. But those statistics reflect the years he spent on terrible teams before finding his home in Oakland. They do not reflect what he accomplished when he had the right team around him.
Eli Manning is in the Hall of Fame. Manning's career passer rating was 84.1. Jim Plunkett's career passer rating was 67.5. The statistics favor Manning, but Manning played 16 seasons with a consistent supporting cast in New York. Plunkett played for 5 seasons on terrible teams in New England and San Francisco before finally getting his chance in Oakland. What would Jim Plunkett's career statistics look like if he had spent those wasted years with a competent team? Nobody can know. But the Hall of Fame punishes him for circumstances beyond his control while rewarding quarterbacks who had every advantage he lacked. Ray Guy is in the Hall of Fame. He was inducted in 2014 after waiting 28 years. He was the greatest punter in NFL history. He deserved every honor he received. But he waited 28 years. A player so dominant at his position that the Raiders selected him in the first round of the 1973 NFL Draft waited nearly 3 decades for recognition. The pattern is undeniable. Raiders players wait longer. Raiders legends die before receiving honor. Raiders coaches are forgotten while coaches with lesser accomplishments are celebrated. Why does this continue? Because the voting body has never been reformed. The same media-driven process that produced these injustices 50 years ago is still producing injustices today. 48 voters with market biases and narrative preferences deciding who gets immortalized. And the Raiders will always be disadvantaged in that process because the Raiders have never been the league's favorite franchise. They sued the NFL. They relocated without permission. They embraced the outlaw identity that made the establishment uncomfortable. And the Hall of Fame voters, consciously or unconsciously, have punished Raiders players for the sins of their owner. Al Davis spent 30 years fighting the NFL establishment. His players spent 30 years paying for it. That is the Raiders Hall of Fame problem. That is why legends died waiting for calls that should have come decades earlier. That is why Lester Hayes and Jim Plunkett are still on the outside looking in. The Hall of Fame is supposed to be about football, about what players accomplished on the field, about the impact they had on the game. It is supposed to be blind to market size, team reputation, and owner controversies. It has never been blind to any of those things, and Raiders players have paid the price. Ken Stabler deserved to stand on that stage alive and healthy and thank his fans in person. Instead, his daughter stood there with tears in her eyes, accepting an honor he never knew was coming. Cliff Branch deserved to hear his name called while he still had the strength to celebrate. Instead, he spent his final years wondering if anyone remembered what he accomplished. Tom Flores deserved to receive his gold jacket at 60 years old, not 83, with trembling hands and a voice breaking from decades of waiting. These are real people, real careers, real injustices, and the Hall of Fame needs to answer for them. Subscribe to this channel if you believe Raiders legends deserve proper recognition. Share this video with every football fan who needs to understand what has been done to this franchise. Comment below with the Raider you believe deserves to be in Canton right now. Make noise. Make the Hall of Fame uncomfortable. Because the only thing that changes institutions is pressure. The only thing that forces accountability is attention. Lester Hayes is 70 years old. Jim Plunkett is 76. The clock is running, and the Hall of Fame is running out of time to make this right while these men can still appreciate it. Do not let them wait until it is too late. Not again. The Pro Football Hall of Fame still has a Raiders problem, and it is time the whole world knew about it.